So today I'm going to look at our duck hunt game, and hopefully you've set this up on your own to run appropriately. I've created a duck class with all our usual variables, x, y, speed, width, height. I've got a visible variable. My duck knows how to draw itself on screen, only draws if it's visible. I also have a move function. I put all the move code in here to make it easier when eventually we create an array of ducks. Right now my program doesn't have an array of ducks, it's just one duck. One timer. I start the timer, draw the duck on screen, and I also do my collision inside my mouse click. So let's see what my program looks like. So if I run my program, right now I've got my duck, which is just a red circle bouncing around the screen. And like I said, hopefully at this point you're able to do that fairly simply. And now the first problem you're going to have with your code is I put my collision in mouse clicked. So if I take a look, there's my collision. And hopefully you can do collision code on your own at this point, but there it is. If I click on it, I get, hit a duck, my duck disappears. Now, here's the problem with it. If you listen to my clicking, it can be a little difficult to get the click working. Because if you remember, what happens on click is there's actually two things that happen on mouse clicks. First, mouse pressed happens, and then mouse released. So by the time I start clicking and release, the duck has already moved. So by the time the event happens, the location where my cursor is might not be the location where the duck is, because the duck has moved since then. So if you've noticed that in your code, if you're having that problem, probably the easiest thing to do to fix that is to move your collision code from inside mouse clicked into mouse pressed. And you notice right now I stop the duck once it's clicked. I'm going to show you why, because I'm going to have an error here in a second. Click on my duck, you notice it's a lot easier to click on the duck. Well, but here's the other problem. I can still click on an invisible duck, which is going to be a huge problem if later on I keep score and I want to change levels based on how many ducks they've hit. So I don't want them to be able to click on an invisible duck. And again, hopefully you know already to just add another if statement to your collision to check if the duck is actually visible before you check the collision with it. So, a couple things I should do. Oh, and I'll show this right now because a lot of people have this, want to add this to their program. If I want the duck to fall off the screen after I've clicked on them, like the original duck hunt where the duck kind of falls off the screen. I'll make a dead duck blue. And then what I can do is when all ducks become visible is equal to false, and I'll say all ducks, which is the name of my one duck variable right now. I'll say dead equals true. I click on it, you notice my duck turns blue. Now, if I want it to fall off the screen, what I'll do is I'll set the X speed to 0, but I'll set the other way around. I'll set the X speed to 0, but I'll set the X speed to some positive number so he starts falling off the screen. So let's see. Let me get my duck near the top and click on it. Oh, and I do need to reset the X speed. Let's try that one more time. There's my dead duck falling off the screen. Okay, now it's up to you. I still have them falling, but it's up to you if you want to be able to click on a dead duck and what to happen if I click on a dead duck. So, problem is right now I have one duck. So at this point you should know that we need to create an array here. So, and not only do we need to create an array, I have to create an array that's big enough to hold all the ducks I'm going to need for all the levels. So if I'm going to have eventually a level with 50 ducks on it, I need 50 ducks in it. Right now I'm just going to do a 10 duck array. And if you recall, all this does is it sets aside the memory for my ducks. It doesn't actually create the ducks. So what I'll have to do in here, just like we've done the last couple projects, is create a loop that actually goes through and creates the ducks for me. Now I have to make this into a loop, so I should have copied that. Int I equals 0, I less than 10. And then same thing in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through on my collision to check if I hit a duck. Okay, and there should be one more loop in my timer to tell all 10 of my ducks to move now. Okay, so if I run my program now, it still looks like I have one duck. But what's actually happening is there's 10 ducks there, and I'm killing all 10 ducks at the same time every time I click on the duck. So next issue I have to do is position my ducks on screen. So right now I just create my ducks on screen. What I should do is randomize the position of the ducks on screen. So that code will look a little like this, where I randomize a position. Where I randomize it. Now, I picked from a random number from 300 and I added 100 just so that my ducks don't end up on the left side of the screen. Same thing with the Y, I added 50 just so it doesn't end up at the bottom of the screen, and then I randomized the speed and I added 1 just so my ducks aren't standing still by default. And there's my 10 ducks floating around the screen. Now I can try and click on them to get them to fall. But I've got a somewhat working duck hunt game. So the next thing you should do in your program is once a duck is dead and falls off the bottom of the screen, you should have a timer that respawns your ducks, so puts them back up on screen after they've been killed and disappeared. Or you could set up your game so that, after they've killed the 10 ducks, the next 50 ducks appear. Depends on how you want to set up your game, but that's the next thing you have to start thinking about.